You ever live through a moment so surreal, so far removed from everything you thought you knew about your land, your animals, and even yourself, that afterward the world just feels different? I did. My name's Hank Delaney, and for the past 43 years, I've been raising cattle on 400 acres of rugged pasture in a quiet place called Brookshade Hollow, tucked between the pines and plateaus of northern Idaho. I've seen blizzards bury barns. I've pulled calves in pitch dark during thunderstorms. I've chased off mountain lions with nothing but a spotlight and a shovel. But nothing prepared me for the morning my bull went to war with a python and changed the course of my life. And maybe the future of how we understand animal intelligence. It started, as most days do, with coffee on the porch and the hiss of the old percolator. The air smelled of pine sap and cold dew. The herd was still scattered across the lower field, fog rising off their backs. And then the sound piercing, unnatural. A kind of screaming I'd only heard once before when a coyote got to a newborn. But this wasn't a predator I could chase off with a few yells. I dropped the mug and sprinted, something that doesn't come easy when you're 63 and got a left knee that's mostly screws and regrets. But adrenaline don't care about arthritis. I cleared the slope behind the west barn and froze in place. Laying there in a coiled nightmare was something I'd only seen behind thick glass at a reptile house, a Burmese python, as long as a canoe and thick as a fence post, wrapped tight around Sugarfoot, a 7-month-old heifer calf with the gentlest eyes on the ranch. And standing there, like a statue forged in hellfire, was Titan, my bull, black as midnight, 2,500 pounds, with a chest that could stop a truck. But he wasn't moving. Not yet. He was watching, calculating. And then, like someone flipped a switch inside his skull, he charged. The hit sounded like a cinder block being dropped on a wet log. The snake recoiled but didn't let go. Titan backed off, snorted, then did something that made my stomach twist, began circling. Not pacing, not panicking, circling. And every time the snake moved to shift its grip on Sugarfoot, Titan stomped closer. I didn't know who to call. Fish and Game? The sheriff? The National Guard? So I called them all. Then I ran back to grab the bolt cutters, thinking maybe I could do something, anything, to help. But by the time I returned, Titan had already engaged in a full-on battle. The python released Sugarfoot with a final lurch and lunged straight at Titan's face. But Titan had seen it coming. He shifted his weight, dipped his head, and took the bite right on his horn. The python's fangs hit bone, glanced off, and in that instant Titan pushed forward, not with brute force, but with pressure, weight, control. He pinned that snake's midsection like he was pressing down on a garden hose. Sugarfoot stumbled away. Titan didn't even glance at her. He kept the snake pinned while adjusting his stance. The python tried to wrap around his leg, and that's when Titan dropped his shoulder and rolled. Not blindly, not by accident, rolled to trap the coils under him. By now, the cavalry had arrived. Wildlife officers, sheriff's deputies, even a reptile expert from Coeur d'Alene. One look at the scene and none of them had any idea what to do. Dr. Ava Lynn, a herpetologist with 20 years under her belt, just shook her head. This bull, she said, adjusting her glasses, is solving problems in real time. That's not instinct. That's cognition. They darted the python, but it took 2 tranquilizers to slow it down. Titan didn't budge until they approached with poles and nets. And even then, he only stepped back after the snake's head was fully restrained. He walked away limping slightly, bleeding from the face but not broken. Not scared. Just alert. Over the next few weeks, things spiraled in ways I couldn't have imagined. Universities called. Journalists showed up. Drone footage from a ranch cam went viral. Titan became a symbol not just of strength, but of intelligence. And let me tell you, Yoha earned every bit of it. Researchers set up a behavioral maze on the east paddock. Titan figured it out in under 5 minutes. They gave him object recognition tasks, spatial puzzles, even basic sequencing tests. He passed with levels usually expected from primates. But it wasn't just about treats or curiosity, kept his eye on the herd. Always. If one of the calves cried out, he'd stop everything and trot over. The most shocking part? He started teaching. That's right. Titan demonstrated behavior transfer. He showed a younger bull named Rustler how to open a gate latch by nudging it twice, then lifting with his horn. Rustler copied him the next day. When one of the calves got tangled in some fencing, Titan didn't bellow Or Panish walked back to the barn and tapped on the side until I followed him out. Let me write to her. Dr. Lynn and a team from the University of Idaho proposed a long-term cognition study. They brought in observational specialists, set up cameras, and created a rotating test regimen. One test involved food hidden under a weighted lid. Titan solved it. The next week, they added decoy lids. He solved that too. Then they moved the food location mid-sequence. He adapted. And what really shook the scientists was when he led another bull to the correct solution by standing next to the correct lid and nudging it twice before walking away. He wasn't just learning. He was communicating. Meanwhile, the python nicknamed Bandit by the rescue team was traced back to an illegal exotic animal trade operation spanning 3 states. The incident triggered state legislation requiring stricter enforcement of reptile transport laws. Bandit was relocated to a sanctuary where she became the focus of her own research. But Titan, he became something else entirely. The USDA established the Titan Initiativian Agricultural Program designed to explore animal intelligence and its role in welfare and productivity. Farms across the country began integrating environmental enrichment, puzzle feeders, social tasks, and multi-sensory exposure routines. And wouldn't you know, its stress levels dropped. Calving rates improved. Injuries decreased. Cattle became calmer, more social. Titan's behavior had sparked not just fascination but revolution. I started receiving letters from students, scientists, even soldiers. One vet who'd served overseas wrote that Titan reminded him of a commander calm under pressure, protective, decisive. Another letter came from a 3rd grader who said, Titan is my favorite superhero because he saves his friends without flying. A month later, a production crew arrived to film a documentary. Then came BBC, National Geographic, even Disney Nature. They made plush toys of Titan. Schools started curriculum projects based on cattle cognition. And the local fair renamed its livestock arena to Titan Hall. Through it all, Titan never changed. He still patrolled the pasture at sunrise. Still positioned himself between the herd and the tree line every dusk. Still greeted Sugarfoot first each morning like she was his little sister. 6 months after that python attack, Titan stood on a stage of hay bales as the governor handed me a plaque. But I held it up to the crowd and said, this belongs to him. I just pay the feed bill. And now, I stand here on this same porch, watching the sun dip behind the ridge, and I wonder, how many other animals out there have minds like Titans? How many stories are we missing because we're not watching close enough? So now it's your turn. What do you believe? Is Titan 1 in a million? Or have we just not been listening? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Hit that like button if this story opened your eyes a little. And subscribe if you want to hear more tales about the extraordinary moments hidden in ordinary places. Because out here in Brookshade Hollow we're not just raising cattle anymore. We're raising questions the whole world's starting to ask.